Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So my name again, Patricia Bennett. I think most of you know who I am. With me, I have Rick Collins. So if for whatever reason you think of something later that was not covered, then please go ahead and email Rick. Most of you will have Rick's email, rickc@pcbennett.com. And we'll go ahead and get started. So this is pretty exciting. Back in, I think it was in 2019 or two, Acumatica introduced the ability to track corporate credit cards inside of Acumatica. Um, so I am going to show you how to set up a corporate credit card, and then we're going to process a couple of transactions, and we're going to talk about different ways that we can use to reconcile those transactions and different ways that we can use to enter the information that we need to enter. So first of all, I'm going to start with the chart of accounts because the first thing we need to do is create a liability account for the credit card that we're using. In this case, I've created an account 2001 for American Express. Once we've created the liability account, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a payment method. And where do I find that? I go to banking and payment methods. Once I'm here, I'm going to hit the plus sign. In this case, I already created it. So created a payment method named American Express or Amex. I'm going to use it in AP. And I don't have the cash account yet. So all I'm going to do is create this payment method. When you create the payment method, make sure that this is not checked. If I'm on 2020 R2 here, if you're in 2021, you'll have some additional fields. And let me go there and show you. This is 2021. There's a visa here. And this one is to use in AR, but let's see. Let's find out one that's, this is my corporate credit card. And here, again, no, it's the same fields. I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong thing. So same thing, make sure that this box is unchecked. Once we've done that, the next thing is to create the cash account. So we're going to go to banking, cash accounts, and we're going to create that corporate credit card. We called it MX AP for accounts payable. And we're going to associate that cash account with the GL account that has the liability GL account for my corporate credit card. If there's a sub account, you can go ahead and associate that. If you're using multi-currency, then make sure that you specify the currency. I don't even have it available here, but make sure you specify the currency when you create that liability account. And then again, you have to specify the currency here. You want to make sure that you mark the use for corporate credit cards and that you set up a reconciliation sequencing number for that. Once we have set up the header for the corporate credit card, we're going to associate that payment method that we created down below. At this point, we have created a cash account with a payment method. The last thing we need to do is create the corporate credit card. Where do I go to create the corporate credit card? Under banking, if I'm showing all of my menu items here, under profiles, we have the cash accounts and then corporate cards. And then under corporate cards, I'm going to go ahead and create the card that I want to use. In this case, I'm just going to show you the one that I have created already because you definitely don't want to see me type. And then what we do is we create the name of the card. I would not put a card number there, but some way of identifying the card number, the cash account, and then who are those people that have those corporate credit cards that can actually enter expense receipts for the corporate credit cards? This is very important. Only these people will be able to enter transactions for that card. So once we have that, then what we're going to do is we're going to start entering some transactions. So I'm going to enter transactions two different ways. One is using my mobile app, because one of the cool things that I can do now is if I have two receipts and one is a personal expense and the other one is a corporate credit card expense, I can actually submit both of them in one claim and have the corporate credit card expense go to the credit card and the personal one become a payable for me as an employee in the system. All of this goes through approvals. However many levels of approvals you guys need, we can certainly create the approval trees to match whatever requirements you have in your organization. So I have 3 receipts here. I'm just going to bring in my cell phone. I have it right here. And I'm going to go and open my Acumatica app. Usually I have to log in, but I had already logged in just to make it quicker. So I'm going to go ahead and enter an expense. I'm going to hit the plus sign at the bottom, and I'm going to say scan receipt. So now I'm going to go and scan the first one. And I'm going to take a picture of this. And it looks okay. I'm going to hit the little check mark right here. And now what the mobile app is doing is reading this receipt and recognizing key fields inside that receipt. So as you can see, it recognized that it was Shell, the date of the transaction, and the amount of the transaction. So if I hit the OK or the check mark button, then it creates the expense for me. This is not a car rental expense, so let's see if we have any other options here. Well, I guess we can leave it as car rental expense. And then what I want to do, and as you can see, if we have projects, we can assign it to a project if it goes to a specific customer for billing purposes. But in this case, I'm going to specify that this, which one was this? The 4088. Yep, this is a corporate. And as you can see, we have 3 different options. It's a personal account, so it's a reimbursement to me. It's a corporate card and a corporate expense, or is a corporate card and a personal expense. So in this case, it's a corporate card and a company expense. Once I have specified that, then I'm going to go ahead and hit the checkbox here. And now I'm going to create another one. And even though both of them are for Shell, because I can't be creative, I don't have enough receipts, they're for different amounts and they were paid with different credit cards. So this credit card number here is different from the credit card number in the other account. This one is a personal expense. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the checkbox on that one. Again, it's going to recognize the same things that was Shell. And this is artificial intelligence. So the more I do this type of receipts, the faster it knows what it is and how to handle them. The difference on this one, again, it already remembered that it was a car rental expense. The difference here is that this is going to be a personal expense. And I'm going to go ahead and, so for the sake of making things a little quicker, I'm now going to go here and look at those receipts. And as you can see, they're both here. One is for $40.88 and the other one is for $52.94. So now I'm going to go ahead and claim both of those. Yep. Okay, we have an issue here. So that didn't work very well. Let me check real quick. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what I missed here. Let me do one more. Let me do another expense here and see what happens. Actually, you know what? Let me go and create a claim. Let's see what we can do. I have a third receipt in my hand. And it's not for a customer. And this was for 6/13/2021. And the expense item is auto, gas, $40.54. There's no project. And sales category, and it's a corporate card, and it's American Express. And let's see if I get an error again. No, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and submit this. $40.54. And now the next thing that I want to do is look at my reconciliation. And when I refresh this, oh, I didn't release it. Sorry.
Patricia, we do have one question.
Okay.
If there's only one person entering the credit card receipts from the statement and they do not use a mobile device, how is that done?
Okay, I will show you that. This is in case you want people to enter their own, but I will show you that that's directly done into banking and there's different options there, and we will cover those options. So right now I submitted, I released my expense. Let's go ahead and refresh this. And here is that expense that was entered. I'm not really sure what happened or why my transaction didn't go through. I'll look into that. One thing that you guys need to be aware of, and this was a showstopper for one of our customers, is that when we enter these credit cards, you lose the ability to track the transactions by vendor. So for example, if I was gonna pay Acumatica a big invoice, I want to make sure that I track that I paid that to Acumatica. So what I would do in that case, I would process those transactions through payables. I create a bill for Acumatica, and then I pay it with my American Express, which is in essence a different cash account that we're using to pay that expense. That transaction then would show up here to be reconciled just like any other reconciliation. So this is if we're using the time and expense to enter those transactions. So again, I can process corporate cards, I can process personal, and I can process corporate cards that I use for a personal transaction. And what it does is it creates the ins and outs inside of my employee account, and it will offset what I use the corporate credit card with any expenses that I did on my own credit card. So now let's talk about how else we can enter transactions. One of the things that I will not go in detail today, but that we have available inside of Acumatica is the ability to use bank feeds. So with the bank feeds, then we can have continuous transactions uploading from your bank, whether it's to your cash account or to your credit cards. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to create a bank feed, and also how to maybe take an American Express statement without the bank feeds and just upload it, or your bank statement for that matter. Now we're talking about strictly reconciliation of cash accounts. So first of all, if we want to keep track of the vendor, you need to enter that transaction through payables and then pay the transaction with your corporate credit card. That way, the vendor gets the transaction recorded to that vendor record. If tracking the vendor, because we do gas and restaurants and stuff like that, is not that important, then we can go straight to the banking module and we can import those transactions. So the first thing that I think I'm going to show you is if you were to use the bank feeds, and that is an additional module and there's a charge for that, then we can create, if we were going to create the American Express bank feed, we can create that. And that is done to a company by the name of, Rick, remind me again, is it Plaid? Plaid. I was going to call it Placo, but that didn't sound right. Company by the name of Plaid. And with Plaid, it has pretty much all the banks already configured. And it's a matter of configuring for you guys, which is the reason that I can't show you that, because I don't have an account with Plaid, so I can't show you how to configure that. But this is our sample data, and it already has 3 accounts configured. One is my checking account, my savings account, and this is all with Chase Bank, and a corporate credit card. So one of the things that that you will notice is that when we deal with the corporate credit cards, then we can specify again who are my users of the company credit card and how do I want to match the transactions. So for example, in American Express, they always tell you who the account owner was. So if you have 10 corporate credit cards, it will have, each transaction will have the name of the owner of that credit card. If we have a Visa, for example, where maybe they have different account numbers, or then we can specify that. So we decide how we're going to match, what are the rules that we're going to set up to match those transactions. These are some of the options that we have. If we say contains, then account owner is one of the options here. So what this does, once we set up the links to the bank, then we can import those credit card transactions on a regular basis. The other side that we want to do is specify how the expense items are going to be matched, right? For example, if it's a restaurant, then put it under meals. If it's travel, put it under travel. If it's supplies, and so on. And we can add as many of this. I'm assuming that you guys know where these are, but these expense items are non-stock items set up in the system, and maybe it's worth taking a minute to go there. So let me just use this and go to inventory, non-stock items, and take a look at like meals, because this is very important. This is how we tell the system which GL account to associate with the expense of meals, not only when I enter an expense via my mobile device, but when we're trying to match transactions. So in this case, meals is a business dinner or lunch. And then the other part that we care about is what is the expense and the sub-account for that particular expense. Hopefully that's not confusing to anybody, but so when we set up these bank feeds, we're going to tell the system if the category or is travel, then use these non-stock items so that it goes to the right GL account. Now, having said that, we can always modify. Nothing happens immediately. You can always review and modify whatever you need to. We can also say, if the vendor is Acumatica, or if the vendor is Staples, or if the vendor is whatever it is, then put it under this non-stock item. Once we have done that, then we can import the transactions. And I'm just going to go to the last one that was done in this sample data again. We would upload that file, and then we would process the transactions. And when we process the transactions, what it's going to do, it's going to match as much as it can. And then what it's not match, it will allow us to match. So we can look at the unmatched transactions, or the matched transactions that we can see, although there's nothing here to match. So we can auto match, and then what's left, we can manually match those transactions to the uploaded file versus the reconciliation. If you want to just reconcile, manually, going back to our PC vetted, then what you do is you just start checking until until this difference becomes 0, and then you can reconcile that credit card. Hopefully that makes some sense. We can import just the regular without going through the bank feeds. In your regular today, you can import a bank statement or a credit card statement, and then just match whatever transactions are identical. Anything else, you can then manually match those transactions. Any other questions? Do we have any more questions?
I do not see any at this time.
Because that pretty much wraps up credit card processing, corporate credit card processing in Acumatica. But I'm happy to answer any questions. If anybody has any other questions that I may be able to answer, I'm happy to do so. And obviously, if you guys need help setting up your corporate credit cards, we're more than happy to help you. Most of our customers are on customer care, so there's no additional charge for that. It's just a matter of setting it up and helping you get going with it. Okay. Well, either I put everybody to sleep or
All right, we've got one more question.
okay.
Chris says, we went through this pretty quickly. Is this recording going to be made available to us?
Yes. Yes. And if you want me to go over a specific area slower, I can do that. This will become a recording, a blog in our website, and then I believe that our marketing department emails everybody that sign up for the webinar, the recording of the webinar.
Are we able to unmute people? I don't know if Kimberly still has a question. She's got her hand raised.
Yeah, allowed to talk. Let me see. Okay, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you. So a while ago, you had said something about being able to post a transaction to a actual vendor account in Acumatica and then pay it with the American Express.
Correct.
How exactly, can you go through the steps and show us how exactly that works?
Sure.
Because we would like to be able to track like dues and stuff like that through the actual vendor and not have to go through all the American Express, statements each month.
Absolutely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to payables. I'm going to create a new bill. So I need to make sure that that vendor is set up to be paid with a credit card. Well, let me look at a vendor first. Let's look at my favorite vendor.
What's the criteria in order to set those up as well?
I'll show you. So this is just a regular vendor. And then under payment, they're set up to take checks. I don't have to have this is my default. I just have to make sure that my Visa corporate credit card or my American Express is one of the payments that is active for this vendor. So now that I have verified that, I can create a new bill. And what I'm going to do is I need a reference number, which is an invoice number. If you don't have one, just use the date. You can enter a description.
So it's just like you're doing a regular invoice.
Correct.
Period. Okay.
Yep. And the branch. Oops. One. Let's say $250. Put it to the GL account that I need that to go to. Take it from hold. I have approval set up on this system, so I'm going to go ahead and approve. Usually you cannot approve your own transactions, but what did I miss? Oh, I have projects set up, so I need to enter a project. That's because it's a hold. Sorry. Take it off hold. Approve it again.
So you said we can't approve our own transactions?
No. Well, it depends. It depends on the setup. Okay. I'm set up as the administrator, which is why I'm able to approve all these transactions.
Right.
Okay. I'm being stupid here.
Because normally when we post an invoice, we just go in, save it, and then release it. Is that the same thing that you're talking about?
Yeah, this is a demo site.
Okay.
This demo site, it's set up for approvals.
Gotcha.
That's why I'm having to approve. And third time is a charm. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and release this. So now it's a payable in my system. And then once I release it, you can go through the regular payables way of doing it, but just for sake of this, I'm just going to say pay the bill from here. So it's going to create a payment. And instead of check, I'm going to select my Visa corporate credit card. The cash account has to be the corporate credit card. And, oh, I need a reference number. Take it off hold. Oop. Save. And release. So now we have $250 with today's date. And if I go to my Visa reconciliation, well, we're a little behind here. Then there's my $250 to be reconciled under my corporate credit card.
Okay, so that is very, very interesting. So when you post the invoice into Acumatica under the vendor account, you don't necessarily have to pay that until your statement comes in and then you're reconciling your statement. Is that correct?
You can do it whenever you're ready to do it.
Okay, and so then when we do it that way and we go to the reconcile statements, we have to have the American Express cash account set up. Is that correct?
Well, you have to have, so the only way that you can do this type of reconciliation is through a cash account.
Okay, so it's kind of like a clearing account?
Think of it as a checking account. It
Okay.
treats a credit card just like a savings account, a checking account, any kind of bank account.
Okay.
Acumatica calls it cash account.
Okay. So is it kind of like a clearing account then? Is that right? Or no?
No.
No. Okay.
No, because a clearing account is a temporary place. The cash account, I can go back in history and see all my transactions, just like a checking account.
Right. Okay.
And when you reconcile, when you get the statement, you take it off hold and you release it and you start a new one.
Okay.
And I believe, didn't we just get introduced to you from Cindy? No.
No, this is Conceptual Mindworks. We've been with you guys for several years.
Okay. I'm sorry. I was confusing you with somebody else.
Oh, no worries.
But if you want, I'm happy to get offline and go over in detail with all step by step what we need to do.
Oh, yeah, that would be wonderful.
Okay.
Patricia, we have another question.
Yep.
Carla would like to know, how does this affect the 1099 records? Are credit card vendor payments included in our 1099 amounts for the vendor?
Absolutely. It doesn't matter how you pay it. As long as when you create the AP voucher, it has to know that it's a 1099 transaction, then the system doesn't care how you pay that transaction. If it's a 1099, it will go to a 1099 bucket. And happy to show. If we go back to payables, vendors, just to make sure. right here, if this is marked, then it allows you to select what type of 1099 it is. And then when you create the transaction, when you create the payable, then whatever amount you enter will automatically go into that 1099 bucket. There is instances where you may be doing expense reimbursement and you don't want that to go to the 1099. So you can manipulate that data as well.
Says usually we pay the credit card provider and the provider processes the 1099 payment to the vendor. That was a question.
Usually we pay the credit card provider. Okay, I'm not understanding that. Can I unmute you? I'm going to allow everybody to talk if they want to.
Can you hear me?
I can.
So usually the credit card providers are responsible for sending the 1099 reports to the vendors. Since we're not paying the vendor directly, we're paying American Express instead of paying ABC company. And then American Express sends a 1099 for the ABC company. So I think you answered it earlier, is you can manipulate the 1099 bucket by just not including it so that you don't mix your payments.
Correct. But that would be a lot of work because for every transaction that you enter for every vendor, you would have to go and zero out that because automatically it's going to put it in there. Yeah. So if the purpose of marking that vendor as a 1099 vendor is that you can send American Express a list of vendors that they need to send 1099s for? No,
they have their own records because when you settle it with them, the vendor, so ABC company, you're just recording that you paid it with American Express, and they would have had to file in their claim with American Express to get that money for the invoice.
So really, it doesn't even have to show as a 1099 vendor on your books.
On a credit card payment. But if you pay them with cash payments, then, or, check or ACH payments, if you pay the vendor directly, then you're responsible for the 1099. If you pay it with a credit card, the credit card companies are responsible for 1099.
Okay, so in that case, when you enter that transaction, you need to make sure you zero out that 1099 bucket. And
or
if
just
you want,
pick the one that,
let's go ahead and just turn this on. Who's this? My AA vendor. Well, let's do another one because I do this one all the time. So let's do this one. I'm going to turn this one into a 1099, and then let's do that one, the most popular one. What's the name of this? AC Ties. I couldn't pick a harder name to pronounce. Acetai. Okay, so now let's go ahead and enter a bill for this guy. And let's see here. So we're gonna say 1, and let's do $300. So now let's look for that bucket somewhere in here. There you go. I think there's a way to. Let me see if there's something that I don't have. Amount. I thought there was a 1099 amount. Can we take it off? Maybe I dream sometimes of functionality that's just not there. Hey, there you go. Let's see if it, nope, put it back. Nope. So you may have to have two vendors for the same vendor then. One that's a
One for
1099 and
trash.
one that's not.
Okay.
I could swear that there was a, I can't be making that up. Well, obviously I am.
That might be cleaner to do with two different vendors anyway, if you're gonna mix your payments. Or you
Yeah.
just make a decision, you're only gonna pay that guy with American Express.
Well, the other thing is that it would be so easy to forget to clear. If there was my imaginary bucket where you could, it would be so easy to forget to take it off and to put zeros in there.
Right.
Maybe for the transaction, we can turn that off. No. Nope. Okay, I was wrong.
Okay, well, at least, you know, we can, if we decide to mix payments, we can just set one up as their credit card vendor and then one as a regular vendor.
But I've never heard of the credit card company sending the 1099s out. That's
the
interesting.
advantage of using a credit card. You don't have to do 1099s.
Okay. Any other questions? Everybody has been unmuted, so you can speak if you need to. Okay. Well, hopefully this was helpful a little bit. Again, if we can help you specifically with specific questions, or if you need to go through the process, we're happy to go through it with each one of you. Just let us know. And thank you so much for your time today and for attending. And if you can think of topics that you would like to see on these webinars, this is for you guys. So please send them to us and we'll go over those. Is there another question there? Did I see something?
Kimberly's just asking for a call back.
Okay. Send us your phone number. Or do we have it? I'm assuming we have it. Okay. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks, everybody.